Good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to look at a tank which I previously absolutely adored, one of my favorite heavy tanks in the game, but over the years, you know, it's kind of lost its touch. It's I recently pretty much rated it as the worst tier 10 tank in the game, and of course we are talking about the FE215B. Now with the last update, Wargaming has actually given this tank some love. Is it better? How was the buff? Is it better? How was the nerf? And to be honest, it has definitely made this tank better than it was. I mean, it can be enjoyable. It always was one of those tanks that can be enjoyable, but Wargaming have gave it a little bit more upper plate armor, not a lot, 19 millimeters, again, not really too much there. They gave it 1 second off of its reload, which is massive for a tank like this, because it was always known to be a nice DPM machine. So giving it 1 second less on the reload is absolutely beautiful. But the best thing, in my opinion, about this, the buffs, is Wargaming has given it an extra 50 millimeters of HE pen. Now, as we know, it has a good pen anyway for the HE, because it has HESH, not the same kind of HESH as the FE202 or the Death Star or the Centurion 7.1, but it has the high pen HESH, and with an extra 50 millimeters, that is absolutely brilliant. It's nice because you're going to be able to pen a lot more tanks from the side, from the rear. Of course, it isn't like the FE422. The FE422 can pen pretty much anything from the side and the rear. This can't really do that, but it can pen a lot more tanks from the rear at least. Now, when you get this tank into some certain positions, you see it in the first game, we didn't do the best, but I just wanted to show what this tank is actually capable of when put in the right situation. Now, this game here is just an average game, but the next game we're going to see is an absolutely beautiful battle, and when someone puts it in this tank in the right situation, in the right position, it really can be a brutal tank. So I definitely think the buff that Wargaming did for this has made it a better tank. Do I still think it's the worst tier 10 tank in the game? No, I do not. I don't think this tank now is the worst tank in tier 10, because of mainly the two buffs, the extra 50 millimeters of HE pen and the 1 second off of its reload has just brought that DPM up and made it one of those tanks that you can still do well in, and that can be an absolute beast back on the battlefield, where this tank has always had that. It's always had that, but it's kind of lost its touch. Wargaming nerfed it a year or so ago, the same with the E5, and they're just giving it the love back, and it has now, in my opinion, gone back to the same kind of tank that it was, and that's exactly what this tank needed. You know, it lost its people lost their love for this tank, and it's a shame, because it has always been a beautiful tank. It's always been a really good, strong tank, and now it's got that again, at least. So you can take out your FE215B and you can actually go and enjoy it. The last time I played this tank, it wasn't enjoyable. I did not have fun playing the tank at all. It was so bad. It felt so bad. And people kept saying, the tank's useless, and I didn't want to agree with them. I didn't want to believe them until I went to play it, and I thought, wow, these guys are right. It's not the same tank as it once was, but now after these buffs, it really is. It's got its touch again. It has got its touch again. Now we're going to watch this game, because this game, I mean, the accuracy on this thing, sometimes, yeah, it's not bad, but sometimes it shouldn't hit these shots that this guy has got. Now, this guy from Loka, when I looked at the Hall of Fame, I thought I wanted to go and get a good game, and I wanted to see an absolutely perfect game for this tank. So I went and had a look at the Hall of Fame, and this guy actually got two Hall of Fames in this tank one day after another. So yeah, I mean, people can still play it again, and it's good that people are now playing this tank again, because it did lose its touch and people just stopped playing it because it wasn't worth playing. The last time people was playing this tank is when you had to get the mastery badges for the Octopus X camo, you know, one of the rarest camos in the game, because it was so difficult. You had to get 5 aces in this tank, but at the time, because all the pros wanted the camo, it was almost impossible to ace this tank. People were getting upwards of 1700 XP and still not enough for an ace. So sadly, I believe Wargaming has taken that off now, so you can't at the moment get the Octopus X camouflage. And being a contributor, I sometimes get camos from Wargaming. Sometimes all I gotta do is ask if I can have this camo. I actually asked if I can have the Octopus X camo back when it was out in the aces, and they actually said no, you can have pretty much any camo, but sadly you can't have this camo. This camo is at the moment a one-off for the people that get 5 masteries. So sadly I couldn't get it. It is a camo that people want, but it's a camo that pretty much everyone, the legendary camouflage, the Octopus anyway, it's pretty much the same but just blue. But it's unique, you know, it's rare, and it's a camouflage that everyone wants, because also it shows you that you've actually performed well in this tank as well. So we're going to watch the rest of this game, and I mean, excuse me, look at the position he's got himself in. He hasn't had to move all game. Fair enough, he's only bounced 1 shot, but he hasn't really had to move all game. He's got himself into a good position, great position, where he can use that gun depression. He can turn the gun to the side, get that gun depression and get some damage. And he's managed to farm up 4.1k damage at the moment. Now, coming up against a tank like the WZ-113, that has DPM. That isn't a tank that you want to be dealing with one-on-one, because he will out DPM most things. But the best thing to pretty much come up against the WZ-113 is an FV215B, because it does have that DPM. Doesn't have quite the DPM that this guy's got, but you can almost match it. And if you can get a bounce or two from the WZ, then yeah, you're going to be laughing, just like he was here. So yes, he lost a lot of hit points dealing with the guy, but dealing with a guy that has the highest DPM in tier 10 for heavy tanks, it's something. So he's also managed now to bounce 1600 damage. So yeah, he's now a one-shot to the Death Star. So at this point in the game, he needs a bounce from this Death Star. If the Death Star starts pushing forward, then he could probably be able to take him out. He does have the higher ground, but you can see here he gets a nice bounce from the Death Star, and now he has the T100 Light. But again, even with the T100 Light, yes, he has fantastic DPM, but it's not. This tank isn't a tank that you need to be scared of medium tanks, because you do have good DPM. You don't, again, it's your DPM now with the 1 second off your reload. If you can get the HE out as well, you're really pumping up your DPM. If you can HE these guys, the medium tanks, you can sort of be almost 4000 DPM with this thing. But so it's a great tank, fantastic tank in the right situation. It was one of my worst tier 10 tanks in the game after the nerfs, but now Wargaming have buffed the tank. It is a much better tank. It's a much more enjoyable tank to play, and it definitely is worth buying again if you sold it. I know a few people that sold it because they never wanted to play the tank again after the nerfs, but it's definitely now one of those tanks that you can rebuy because it is a fantastic tank. So thank you, Wargaming, for giving some love back to the FV215B. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I'm meadsy69, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye bye.